Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a dirt road cutting through golden fields. The sun is barely up. The air smells of wet earth and wood smoke. And somewhere along the road, a 12-year-old boy is walking to school barefoot. Lunchbox in hand, the whole world still waking up around him. He doesn't know it yet, but today, this ordinary Tuesday morning is going to change something inside him forever. Not because of what happens at school, not because of a lesson written on a blackboard, but because of what he hears in the tall grass. A sound so small, so fragile, it could have been the wind. Most people would have kept walking. Ajay didn't. But before Ajay takes the step into the grass and before I take you deep into this story, a quick moment for those of you who are new here. Welcome to Kahani Sonu with Kabir and Sara. With me, Kabir, today. Every episode, we bring you a story worth feeling. Stories of extraordinary people doing extraordinary things. Stories that remind you what it means to be a human. If this is your first time here, subscribe so you never miss a kahani. And if you are a returning listener, you already know what's coming. So hit that like button and let's go. And please drop a comment after the episode. Tell me what this story made you feel, because Sarah and I read every single one of them. Now, back to that dirt road, back to that small, fragile sound in the grass. Ajay was 12 years old and the only child of a farmer named Rajan. They lived in a village so remote that the nearest market was an hour's walk away, and the electricity came and went like a visiting relative, unreliable and never staying long enough. Every morning, Ajay walked 2 kilometers to school, past the wheat fields that his father tended with cracked hands and bent back, past the neem trees where the crows gathered like village gossips, past the long stretch of grasslands that turned amber in the early light. And it was in that grassland, on that particular morning, that he heard it. A squeaking, a tiny, desperate squeaking, like something reaching out to the world with everything it had. Ajay stopped. He tilted his head, the way children do when they are listening for something that might not be real. And then he pushed through the tall grass. There, nestled in a shallow hollow in the earth, were 3 puppies. Oh, friends, you have to picture them, golden and white, their fur so soft it looked like it had never been touched by the world yet. Their eyes just beginning to open, tiny, trembling, alone. And the moment Ajay crouched down, the moment his shadow fell over them, those 3 puppies tumbled toward him, not with fear, with trust, as if they had been waiting for exactly him. "Kahan gayi tumhari maa?" Ajay whispered. "Where is your mother?" He looked around, left, right, into the depth of grassland. Nothing. No mother dog anywhere inside. He was already late for school. He knew it. His mind told him to walk on, that someone else would find them and the mother would return. And this was not his problem. But his heart, his 12-year-old heart, said something else entirely. He couldn't take them home. He knew that his family had barely enough. His parents would never allow it. 3 more mouths was 3 more burdens, but he couldn't leave them in the open either, exposed to the sun, to the strays, to the silence. He did the only thing he could think of. He gathered all the 3 puppies gently, one by one, and moved them to a sheltered spot behind a cluster of shrubs, shaded, softer ground, hidden from the road. "I will be back," he said to them, as if they understood, and maybe, somehow, they did. He ran to school with their tiny cries echoing in his ears the entire way. Ajay sat in his classroom that day, but his eyes were not on the blackboard. They were on the grassland 2 kilometers away. on three small golden creatures breathing their small breaths, waiting. When school let out, he ran, not home, back to that hollow in the earth. And what he found stopped him cold. The three puppies were still there, but they were weaker, visibly, terribly weaker. Their little bodies had lost the urgency of the morning. They lay close to each other, barely moving, too exhausted even to cry. No mother had come. Ajay felt the first wave of something he would feel many more times in the coming days. The particular helplessness of caring deeply about something you cannot fix. He opened his lunchbox. There was some rice left, some curd. He looked at it, looked at the puppies, and without a second thought, he mixed it in his palm and held it out to them. They tried to eat. They really tried. He found a large leaf and folded it in a tiny cup and fetched water from a nearby stream. They drank, barely, hungrily. He sat until the light faded. And then he walked home in the dark, stomach empty, heart full of something that had no name. He said nothing to his parents. What would he say? They were already stretched thin. His father harvest, his mother worries, the quiet arithmetic of a poor family where every rupee was already spoken for. That night, Ajay could not sleep. He lay on his mat and thought about what he could bring tomorrow. He planned it carefully, the way a general plans a small, necessary battle. A little rice saved from dinner, wrapped in a cloth. The next morning, Ajay rose before his parents and set off early. His feet already knew the way to the hollow in the grass. But when he arrived, he found only two puppies breathing. One had not made it through the night. Ajay sat beside it for a long time. He was 12 years old and he had never seen death up close like this, small and still and final. He felt the grief move through him like a cold current. Then, because there was nothing else to do, he dug a small grave with his hands at the edge of the field and he buried the puppy. And he pressed the earth down gently, the way you do when you want something to know it was loved. The two survivors were barely holding on. Ajay could see it, the dullness in their eyes, the shallow rise and fall of their tiny chests. He ran to school, and 2 hours into his class, he could bear it no longer. He put up his hand and asked for permission to leave. Then he went directly to the small provision shop near the school gate, a cluttered little place run by a middle-aged man named Ramesh. "Bhaiya," Ajay said, standing at the corner, "there are 2 puppies dying in the field. Please, just 1 biscuit packet. I'll pay you back. I promise." Ramesh looked at the small, earnest, breathless child and did what most adults, when faced with something inconvenient, do. He said no. He suspected the boy was making it up for a free snack. He'd seen children play these games, but Ajay didn't leave. He came back at noon and then again after school. He stood at that counter 3 times that day, each time with the same story. The same level gaze and same desperate sincerity. "Then come with me," Ajay finally asked. "Come and see them yourself." Ramesh declined, but something in the boy's voice had lodged inside him, the way a sprinter does, small but impossible to ignore. He called Ajay back when he was almost at the door. "I need someone to watch my shop," Ramesh said slowly. "From 4 to 6 every evening, I have to pick my daughter and take her home, and I have to close the shop during that time. If you can sit here and manage sales for those 2 hours, I will pay you. Whatever is sold in those 2 hours, a fair share." And then he slid a biscuit packet across the counter. Ajay grabbed it without a word and ran. He reached the hollow in the grass, biscuit packet in hand, heart hammering. One puppy was gone, just like that, in the time it had taken him to plead with Ramesh, to convince, to run back. The second puppy had slipped away. Ajay stood there and cried. Not the restrained crying of someone trying to be brave, but the full, ugly, honest weeping of a child who has tried his best and lost. He cursed his poverty. He cursed the distance between the shop and the field. He cursed the heat, the world, the unfairness of being born into a life where he could not simply buy milk from fridge, where every small mercy had to be fought for. And then, through his tears, he heard it, a sound, faint, stubborn. The third puppy was still alive, barely, but alive. Ajay wiped his face. He crushed the biscuits into a fine powder between his palms and mixed them with water. He fed the puppy slowly, carefully, grain by grain, drop by drop. He buried the second puppy next to the first. Two small mounds of earth in an empty field, and one small golden puppy who had no idea how desperately someone wanted her to survive. What followed was a month unlikely any other in Ajay's young life. Every morning, rice and curd, saved from his own meal the night before, carried in a folded cloth to the hollow in the grass. Every evening, 2 hours behind Ramesh's counter, selling biscuits and soaps and matches to villagers, earning just enough to buy a small packet of milk. And slowly, the puppy grew. Her eyes brightened, her legs steadied, her tail, that small, ridiculous tail, began to wag. His parents found out, of course, as parents always do, and to Vijay's relief, they were not angry. His mother cried a little, quietly, the way mothers cry when their children do something that surprises them with its goodness. Even Ramesh came to see the puppy one day. He stood over her, this big man with rough hands and a practical mind, and he shook his head slowly. Then he pulled Ajay into a hug, the kind of hug that doesn't need words. It was around this time that Ajay gave her a name. Her fur had come in thick and beautiful, a warm, shimmering gold with cream white patches like sunlight on pale earth. In Hindi, gold is called Sona, and so he called her Sonu. Sonu, the golden one who had survived. Months passed. Sonu grew from a fragile, trembling puppy into a strong, beautiful dog, loyal in the way only dogs can be loyal, with her entire body, her entire being. She knew Ajay's footsteps before she saw him. She would come bounding through the grass the moment she heard him calling, tail a golden blur, ears flying. And then, one morning, she wasn't there. Ajay called her name again and again. He searched the field, the grassland, the edges of the road. He asked Ramesh, he asked the other villagers, but Sonu had vanished, as dogs sometimes do, following something only they can smell, pulled by instincts older than any name we give them. Days turned to weeks. Ajay waited. He still walked the same road to school. He still called her name each morning, more quietly now, a habit rather than a hope. He thought she was gone. He was quietly getting used to the idea. He was on his way home from Ramesh's shop. A late evening, the sky turning purple and deep, when 3 large dogs appeared on the road, strays, territorial, moving like shadows toward him. Ajay ran, but the ground was uneven, the light was failing, and in the dark he didn't see the pit, a shallow ditch cut into the earth at the edge of the road. He fell. His head struck the edge of a rock. The world went white, then dark. Above him, the dogs were snarling, and then, cutting through the snarling, another sound, a bark, a fury. And Ajay, slipping into unconsciousness, heard the sound of a fight happening above him, over him, for him. He didn't know it then, but Sonu had been watching the whole time. Ramesh was closing the shop when the dog appeared at his door. He recognized Sonu immediately. She was panting, agitated, her whole body trembling with something urgent. She circled him, went to the door, came back, circled again. "Kya hua, Sonu?" he said. "What happened, Sonu?" Sonu took his trouser in her teeth and pulled. Ramesh hesitated only a moment, then followed. She led him through the darkening fields at a run, and when he saw Ajay lying in the pit, the blood down his temple, the stillness of him, Ramesh didn't hesitate. He lifted the boy in his arms, the way you lift something precious, and ran toward the village, toward lights, toward help. The injuries were not as severe as they had looked in the dark. Ajay regained consciousness in the small medical clinic on the main road. His parents on one side, Ramesh on the other, and outside, just beyond the door, sitting very still, watching, was Sonu. When Ajay was brought out, she leapt to him, not with the bounding, tail-wagging joy of a reunion, but with something quieter and deeper. She pressed her head against his chest and was still. Ajay wrapped his arms around her neck and cried again. But this time, the tears were different. They were the tears of someone who had been loved back. There is one more thing I need to tell you. Some weeks after Ajay recovered, Sonu disappeared again, just for a few days this time. When she returned, she led Ajay carefully, deliberately, the way she had once led Ramesh, to a spot deeper in the grassland, where 3 puppies were waiting, golden, white, tiny. Sonu had become a mother, and she had brought Ajay to meet them. The only way she knew how to say, "Look what you made possible." Ajay stood in the field for a long time, watching the puppies nurse, watching Sonu look up at him with her amber eyes. He thought about the morning this had all started, about a 12-year-old boy who could have kept walking, who had nothing to give but chose to give it anyway. The story spread through the school. The principal called a special assembly. He gave Ajay a prize, not a trophy, but a book. On the inside cover, he had written, "Compassion is not what you feel when life is easy. It is what you do when it costs you something." He also gave a prize to Ramesh, who stood in the back of the assembly hall, looking embarrassed and proud in equal measure. So, that is the story of Ajay, Ramesh and Sonu, a boy who walked 2 kilometers to school and came back carrying something far heavier than his lunchbox, a shopkeeper who took a chance on a kid and got something back he didn't expect, the feeling of having done right, and a dog who repaid a debt the only way animals can, with her life, her loyalty, her whole heart. I always think about this story when I feel too small to make a difference, when the problem is too big and the resources too few and the odds too long. Ajay had nothing but his lunch and his heart, and it was enough. So, guys out there, if this story moved you, I really hope it did. Please share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Leave a comment telling us what it made you feel. Hit like and subscribe so Sarah and I can keep bringing these kahaniyan to you. The Hindi version of the same is coming your way very soon. So stay tuned. I am Kabir. Until next time, sunte raho, kahani suno with Kabir and Sarah. Thank you.